We're often drawn to memoirs, aren't we? Looking for that raw truth, maybe some inspiration from someone else's life story.
Yeah, absolutely.
Today we're doing a deep dive into The Art of Disguise by Ben Yagoda, who's an American cultural critic.
And it's a really interesting book because it challenges our assumptions.
Mm-hmm.
It suggests memoirs, well, they're a bit like photographs compared to paintings.
Okay, how so?
They look like objective truth,
Yeah.
right? But they can actually hide layers of interpretation, sometimes even unintentional deception.
Huh. So he's not dismissing them, though.
No, not at all. He actually sees them as this like fascinating cultural thing.
Yeah.
Reveals a lot about how we look at our own lives, how
Yeah.
we kind of build our own stories.
That's a powerful idea. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. We should explore why they're just so incredibly popular right now.
Hmm.
Look at maybe some surprising patterns underneath how they're told, and then get into that big question about, truth.
Sounds good. The popularity thing is huge.
It really is. I mean, you look at the U.S. market, and it's just an explosion of memoirs. You've got the huge celebrity blockbusters like Michelle Obama's selling millions everywhere.
Right.
And the money, the advances. Bill Clinton reportedly got, what, $10 million for My Life?
Astonishing. And Tony Blair, not far behind, around $9 million.
But it's not just the really famous people, is it? That's what's interesting.
No, absolutely not. Think about Oprah. When she recommended Night, the Holocaust memoir,
Yeah.
it just shot up. Millions sold, stayed on the bestseller list for ages.
Wow.
And it's not always these like epic struggles. Sometimes it's seemingly ordinary lives, Eat, Pray, Love, or Julie and Julia. They struck a chord. People
Right.
connected with those themes of adventure, self-discovery.
Finding passion.
Exactly. And we even see these life experiments, you could call them, like Thoreau's Walden, where someone dedicates themselves to a specific way of living.
Right, that makes sense.
And then there are totally unexpected ones, like Dewey the Library Cat.
I remember that one.
Became this huge healing phenomena, apparently. Sold something like $1.3 million in just, 100 days? The variety is just, it's staggering.
It really is.
Which kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? Everyone's life is unique, right?
Yeah.
It's so different.
Yeah.
But the book points out that memoirs often fall into these surprisingly distinct narrative modes, these patterns. Why do we do that? Why pick similar frameworks when we look back?
That's fascinating. Like the success narrative, right? Benjamin Franklin's autobiography is the classic example.
Hmm.
You remember that story. Hitting his head on a doorway, and someone tells him it's a lesson in humility.
Yeah, I do.
It framed him as this sort of ideal American citizen, though didn't Mark Twain joke it tortured millions of kids whose parents made them read it?
Huh, yeah, something like that. Or you have the conversion narrative. That really goes back to Augustine's Confessions, that powerful journey of spiritual redemption.
Right, a total transformation.
And what's really interesting is how you see that pattern echo in modern stories. Like eat, pray, love redemption through travel, finding yourself.
Or even the cat book.
Or even Dewey the Library Cat, a beloved pet, bringing a kind of salvation transformation to a community. It just shows these universal human drives, seeking meaning, seeking change, even if the source is totally different. Travel, faith, a cat.
It's amazing how those patterns pop up, but okay, it begs the question then. If memoirs often fit these molds, what does that actually mean for their truth?
Yeah.
How real can a story be if it's being shaped, even subconsciously, by these kinds of structures?
That is the paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
Memoirs probably can't be absolutely factually true, even if there's no deliberate lying.
Right, like the whole A Million Little Pieces controversy.
Exactly. That was a huge deal. The bestseller about addiction, later found to have major fabrications. But even putting aside intentional deception, memory itself is just, it's fallible.
Yeah.
Nietzsche had that great line, something like, my memory says I did that. My pride says I could not have done that. Eventually, he says, memory gives in.
Wow. So a memoir is really just what the author believes is true when they write it.
Pretty much. And that's a key point.
Plus, when you write for an audience, that must change things, right? The standard for truth might shift. Rousseau wanted absolute candor, said he'd hold nothing back.
Which was maybe a bit unrealistic.
Probably. Mark Twain, on the other hand, he famously wanted his autobiography published only after he died.
Right. Hoping for more honesty without facing the music, I guess.
Yeah, there's that really harsh line from George Bernard Shaw. All autobiographies are lies. It's blunt, but it does make you think about all the layers of, construction involved.
So maybe the real value of memoirs isn't about getting absolute, objective, factual accuracy. Maybe it's more about observing memory itself. And seeing how we construct our own stories, how we made sense of our lives, that gives you profound insight into human nature, you know? Helps us understand ourselves and others better. Not necessarily what really happened minute by minute, but how it's remembered and framed.
That makes sense. So the advice for readers might be, approach each memoir like you're meeting a new friend. Listen closely, take it in,
Hmm.
but use your own wisdom, your own insight to evaluate it. Engage with it critically but openly.
Exactly.
And here's maybe a final thought for everyone to mull over. With blogs, social media, short videos everywhere, the barrier to telling your own life story is basically gone, isn't it?
It's never been lower.
So in a way, everyone can be a memoirist now, fulfilling that really deep, innate human need we seem to have to record our lives, whether it's just for ourselves or, for the whole world.
It's a whole new era of self-narration.